Cabinet was informed that as of 26th July 2021, Zimbabwe's cumulative COVID-19 cases stood at 99,944, with 67,827 recoveries and 3,173 deaths. The recovery rate stood at 67%, with 98% of cases being attributed to local transmission. As we stand in the country, we have 28,944 active cases. Cabinet was informed that the number of infections decreased slightly, with a total of 14,275 cases being recorded during the week under review, compared to the 21,346 cases which was recorded the previous week. This reflected a 49.5% decrease, as the country's efforts to contain the pandemic showed a high level of effectiveness. Nevertheless, Cabinet noted that the need to strengthen efforts to contain the third wave of this COVID-19 pandemic is very strong. As such, therefore, the level 4 lockdown measures remain in force. Areas which recorded the most significant numbers of new cases were Harare Metropolitan Province with 2,920, Mashonaland East Province with 1,968, Mashonaland West Province with 1,776, Manicaland Province 1,537, and Mashonaland Central Province 1,106. Cabinet wishes to assure the nation that efforts are underway to replenish all supplies of essential COVID-19 consumables. Government is ramping up the supply of oxygen and other critical provisions at designated health institutions throughout the country. The Ministry of Health and Childcare has established a prepayment facility with a local gas supplier to ensure constant availability of oxygen. Treasury has released 100 million Zimbabwe dollars for the purchase of oxygen. Cabinet further wishes to inform the nation that a total of 39 new boreholes were drilled, while 12 others were rehabilitated during the week. Major cities are receiving priority in the provision of water. A total of 114 hand-washing facilities were established at public places, and 2,924 hygiene promotion sessions were conducted during the week under review. Cabinet acceded to a request by the tourism industry to open the Victoria Falls and Kazungula border posts to tourists who are fully vaccinated. This is in view of the realization that over 60% of the population in Victoria Falls has been vaccinated. The lockdown measures, however, are being enforced throughout the country in order to curtail a surge under this third wave. Cabinet further resolved that the disbursement of funds should be streamlined in order to facilitate the completion of COVID-19 treatment and isolation centers around the country. As the nation prepares for the reopening of schools, parents and guardians are expected to complement government efforts to provide personal protective equipment, that's PPEs, sanitizers, and other essential requirements for learners. Cabinet also directed that the police should adhere to the curfew times when mounting roadblocks. Then we'll move on to the progress report on the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Cabinet received an update on the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. This was presented by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development as Acting Minister of Health and Childcare. Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that as of 26th July, that's yesterday, a total of 1,491,493 people had received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, whilst 687,216 people had received their second dose. Vaccinations in border town hotspots and people's markets is ongoing, with the highest coverages of the first dose being recorded in Victoria Falls City, Kariba, and also Cheredzi. Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that 1 million doses of the Sinovac vaccine were received on the 25th of July 2021. Another consignment of 1.5 million doses of Sinopharm vaccine are expected in the country on 30th July 2021. Cabinet noted with concern the failure by Chitungwiza municipality and the Harare City Council to pay nurses and other health personnel, resulting in a reduction in service delivery. The two municipalities have also been unable to account for financial resources which have been availed by Treasury towards the COVID-19 response. Cabinet directed that nursing staff in the two municipalities be placed under the Public Service Commission and be paid through the Salary Service Bureau. Risk allowances for the affected workers will also be paid. Cabinet also tasked the Minister of Finance and Economic Development to ensure that the municipalities account fully for the resources that they were allocated as part of the country's COVID-19 response. Cabinet wishes to urge citizens to be vaccinated against COVID-19, and this is in view of compelling evidence that vaccination reduces the need for hospitalization and also reduces infection rates and deaths. Then Cabinet received a report on the proposed NDS-1 communication strategy. Cabinet considered and adopted the National Development Strategy 1 communication strategy, which was presented by the Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services. Cabinet was informed that a sustained national information campaign targeting the entire nation on the NDS-1, the national blueprint which government is implementing to move the country towards the attainment of Vision 2030, is an imperative which should be adequately resourced. The aim is to raise citizens' awareness about NDS-1 and to raise public participation in the implementation of government policies, programs, and projects designed to develop the country towards a prosperous and empowered upper middle income society by the year 2030. This will be undertaken through NDS-1 and its successor, NDS-2. Appropriate messages will be disseminated to targeted audiences using available communication platforms, embracing billboards, apparel, and collateral messaging, as well as digital media. Cabinet noted that individuals, collectives, and corporate organizations need to seize opportunities presented by the national program to improve the livelihoods, welfare, and corporate net worth. The overall aim is to achieve a timelessly and accurately informed nation and international community on developments in the country to facilitate that two-way communication between government and citizens, and also to reshape the national viewpoint through content creation, development, and dissemination, and also to adorn public buildings and spaces in Zimbabwe, and also our embassies with the country's arts, culture, and heritage products. And also a lot of work will be done to improve public relations at ports of entry with the appropriate welcome messages and imagery. Cabinet was informed that the NDS-1 messaging campaign will segment audiences with a view to targeting them with tailor-made messages that will appeal to the social standing. The diaspora will be a special target group. Cabinet noted the NDS-1 messaging will be communicated through highway billboards at entry points, targeting investors, tourists, visitors, and local travelers. There will be also vehicle branding, collateral, and giveaways, including t-shirts, dukes, wrappers, caps, shirts, and blouses, and school and college stationery messaging. This is all done to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind in terms of getting this information. Cabinet further noted that both radio and television will be used extensively to carry messages on NDS-1 and Vision 2030. Other strategies will include indoor and outdoor banners, the print media, and social media. NDS-1 thematic working groups and communication experts will be invaluable for messaging of this campaign. The campaign will also draw expertise from public and private sector media practitioners. Cabinet directed that the requisite financial resources should be availed to facilitate the dissemination of information on NDS1. Internal publics will segment the campaign according to social groups, rural and urban populations, youth and women's groups, students, churches, the general public, workers, businesses, small and medium enterprises, corporates, and the intelligentsia, cooperating partners, and the international community. Then we move on to the report on the interactive meeting with the San community in Cholocho. Cabinet received a report on a government delegation's visit to the San community in Cholocho district in Matabele North province, which was presented by the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, who was the leader of that delegation. The delegation noted that the San people lack birth certificates and identity documents. They encounter high teenage pregnancies as well as very low school completion rates at primary and secondary school. And they also suffer food insecurity, mainly due to human-wildlife conflict and failure to practice modern agriculture. Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that the Second Republic has made undertakings to ensure that the right to equality and non-discrimination is realized. Section 56 of the Constitution clearly states that every person has a right not to be treated in an unfairly discriminatory manner on such grounds as their tribe, ethnic or social origin. Cabinet noted that the Language Center at Midland State University has already translated the Constitution, the NDS1, as well as COVID-19 information manuals into the San Chuao language, with a view to expediting measures to safeguard the San community and advance its development. Cabinet directed as follows: that every ministry should identify and take up a developmental role in areas inhabited by the San Chuao communities, and also that 2 or 3 primary and an equal number of secondary schools be set up as boarding institutions in areas easily accessible to San Chuao communities. In order to enhance school completion rates, this is critical that there are boarding schools in those areas. And also that the Ministry of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, they should instruct the Registrar General's office to issue birth and identity documents to the inhabitants of San Chuao and similar communities in Zimbabwe. In that regard, all constraints relating to testimonies by parents, relatives, and guardians should be waived. That the Ministry of Health and Childcare should establish clinics that will benefit the San Chuao and other similarly disadvantaged communities. That the security ministries waive the entry requirements to enable San Chuao citizens to enlist into the respective uniformed services, and also that the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works expeditiously appoints headmen and chiefs to enhance the participation of the San Chuao in governance. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Development should ensure the timeous release of funds requested by ministries for the implementation of development programs and projects in San Chuao communities. In addition, Cabinet directed that proceeds from the Campfire program be plowed back to benefit communities living in areas where there is abundant wildlife. The food deficit mitigation program should be retargeted for the benefit of the marginalized San Chuao communities. And also the operations of the John Landau Ngomo Trust in areas inhabited by the San Chuao should be revived and expanded. Then we move on to the reports on the 700-day cycle on the Second Republic. Cabinet received reports on the 700-day cycle of the Second Republic, and these were presented by the Ministers of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Minister of Industry and Commerce, Minister of Information, Communication, Technology, Postal and Courier Services. The Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Honorable Mangaliso Ngovu, reported that the development of the wetland management framework is on course, with the wetlands management guidelines having been validated and adopted by the ministry. The draft National Wetlands Map has been produced and validated, while the One Wetlands Policy now awaits approval by Cabinet. 4 of the planned 14 waste drop-off sites were under construction at Mbalabala Business Center in Mzingwane District, Mvurwi Town, and 2 in Harare Metropolitan Province. Progress was delayed due to COVID-19 restrictions. Then on the conservation project for the San community, recruitment interviews for general hands and rangers, training in basic paramilitary and for programs at the Institute of Wildlife were conducted. The forest restoration project has reached 90% completion with a total of 186,146 trees having been planted out of the targeted 200,000 trees. The Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism, Hospitality Industry, Honorable Mangaliso Dlovu, as the Acting Minister of Industry and Commerce, informed Cabinet that the complex animal health better tick grease, the grain protectant and cattle deep production projects in Masasa, Harare had produced the following quantities. First, 69 metric tons of better tick grease out of the targeted 90 metric tons, then 39 metric tons of grain protectants out of the targeted 50 metric tons, and 70 metric tons of cattle dips out of the expected 85 metric tons. The establishment of a new flour milling plant in Zimbabwe at Mega Market in Mutare has reached 75% completion, with the construction of the superstructure completed. Then the installation of a leather processing plant at Zambezi Tanas in Bulawayo has reached 72%, with some of the imported machinery having been received, while the installation of machinery plant at Junction Civil Explosives in Chinoi has reached 80% completion. Those are the projects for the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Cabinet was informed that Zimchem completed the refurbishments of a boiler at its Kwekwe plant and will soon embark on the refurbishments of the standby generator in order to produce 300 metric tons of pitch for export and 300 metric tons for use by the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructural Development. Then Zimbabwe grain bags produced 192,000 grain bags between April and June 2021. So there is a lot of progress happening as we get those reports from the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Then the Minister of Information, Communication, Technology, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable Mskwere, reported that out of the targeted 10 community village information centers, 3 were commissioned, and those which were commissioned are the following. St. Teresa Community Village Information Center, that's in Rosape in Manicaland Province. Then Nyadire, that's again a Community Village Information Center in Mutoko in Mashonaland East Province. And then Brunapeg, that's a Community Village Information Center in Matabeleland South Province. Then the following Community Village Information Centers will be completed soon. Karanda Hospital, Mount Darwin Mashonaland Central, then Madziwa Mashonaland Central, Majuru, that's in Goromonzi, Mashonaland East Province, then Tongogara and Munene in Midlands Province, Doroa once again in Manicaland Province. Then on the community information centers, Cabinet was informed that the Victoria Falls Community Information Center was launched, while the remaining 9 await equipment and setting up. The 9 community information centers are as follows. 1 in Kariba in Mturashanga, that's in Mashonaland West Province, Murewa, Mashonaland East Province, Gwanda, Matabeleland South Province, Mutasa, Manicaland Province, Zaka, Masvingo Province, Rushinga in Mashonaland Central Province, Berengwa in Midlands Province. These are going to be opened soon. The assembling of 2,000 personal computers and laptops at the Zimbabwe Information Technology Company in Masasa, that's Zitco Company, that has been completed. The establishment of the ICT Lab per School project, which was slowed down by the onset of the COVID-19 third wave, that again has started off. The project, which is expected to be completed by 12 August 2021, will benefit the following schools. Katsenga High School, that's in Manicaland Province, Kapembere Primary, Mashonaland Central, Nebarwe Primary, that's in Masvingo Province, Sipepa High School, Bachebele North Province, Chigwedere Primary, Mashonaland East, Selukwe Primary, that's in Midlands Province, Hlahla Primary, and Muzinyantini Secondary, that's in Matebeleland South Province, Neuso Primary, Mashonaland West Province, Nehumba Secondary, Manicaland Province. 7 shared base stations have been established, namely, and these are the shared base stations for our network, for the phones. There's Shiba, Boli, Maranda, and Chikombedzi, all in Masvingo Province. Then Sherwood in Kwekwe, that's Midlands Province. Caps Budiriro, that's Harare Metropolitan Province. The Ministry of ICT completed the installation of local area network, LAN, at 10 public finance management systems, PFMS, kiosk, and that was completed at Makonde and Kariba, that's Mashonaland West Province, then Marondera, Mashonaland East Province, Kwanda, Matebeleland South, Mutasa, Manicaland, Zaka and Chiwi in Masvingo, Rushinga, Mashonaland Central, Victoria Falls in Matebeleland North, and Berengwa in Midlands Province. The International Internet Bandwidth Transit Project in Harare was completed. Then we move on to the update on preparations for Zimbabwe's participation at Expo 2020 Dubai. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Dr. F. Shawa, presented the update on the preparations for Zimbabwe's participation at Expo Dubai 2020. Cabinet wishes to inform the public that 10 tourism operators have expressed interest in participating at the Expo, and these are Africa Sun, Matetsi, Mikos, Shearwater, Wild Horizon, 5 Bulls Tours, Rainbow Tourism Group, Tour Africa Travel, the Water Company, and Kanondo Safaris and Tours. Zimbabwe is one of the 8 countries that was featured on the pre-Expo week on travel in a program titled What's On in the World. This was done in February 2021. Through collaboration with the tourism private sector, the regional manager for Southern Africa for South African Airways and past president of the Tourism Business Council of Zimbabwe, Ms. Winnie Mchanyuka, was nominated to be speaker at the Thematic Business Forum on Travel and Connectivity in January 2022. The nation is advised that ministries were mobilizing the private sector players under their purview to participate at Expo Dubai 2020 in general and at the Zimbabwe's Trade and Investment Forum in particular. Steering committees to mobilize private sector participation have been set up for the following sectors, that's industry and commerce, agriculture, mining, women affairs and small and medium enterprises, youth, sports, arts and culture, and higher and tertiary education. In terms of reaching a wider market for Zimbabwean products, online trading platforms are being developed for the following sectors, that's arts and culture, tourism, industry and SMEs, mining, and Zimtrade is working with both industry and SMEs, while the Minerals Marketing Corporation and Mining Corporation, MMCZ, is targeting selling diamonds online. Zimbabwe's National Day at the Expo 2020 Dubai will be celebrated on 14th March 2022 and will be graced by His Excellency the President, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa. Key deliverables will include cultural performances, investment meetings, high-level delegations, digital screening of Zimbabwe content and engaging partners and service providers. The venue for the Zimbabwe Investment Center has already been booked, and Japreza will perform at the National Day celebrations. The nation is informed that content production has started, and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services will be working with various media houses to promote Zimbabwe's participation at Expo 2020 in Dubai. A countdown advert to Expo 2020 Dubai has already started on television, and the nation is being educated on the importance and benefits of participating at this World Fair. The Cabinet received a report on Child Justice Bill 2020. Cabinet considered and approved the Child Justice Bill 2020, which was presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziyambi Ziyambi, as the chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. The nation is informed that the bill will establish a child justice system for children in conflict with the law, in accordance with the values and principles underpinning the Constitution and the international obligations of Zimbabwe. The bill seeks to entrench the principles of rehabilitation and restorative justice as an integral part of the child justice system, and to establish procedures for the screening of children, to create special rules for a child justice court. Furthermore, the bill will provide for legal representation for children and the sentencing options available for children. The age of criminal responsibility of a child is being reviewed upwards from 7 years to 12 years. The bill also provides the establishment of child justice committees at national, provincial, and district level, and these will be mandated with monitoring child justice. Then we move to the Children's Amendment Bill 2021. Cabinet considered and approved the Children's Amendment Bill 2021, which was again presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziyambi Ziyambi, as the chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. Cabinet was informed that the Children's Amendment Bill will be amended to align it with the 2013 Constitution and incorporate provisions of international conventions and treaties that Zimbabwe has ratified. The bill widens and criminalizes instances of child abuse to include allowing a child to reside in or to frequent a brothel, causing the seduction, abduction, or commercial sexual exploitation of a child, and causing a child to participate in the propagation of child sexual abuse material. The denial of medical treatment or access to medical treatment to a child without reasonable cause will also be criminalized. The bill places an obligation on any professional person who becomes aware or suspects on reasonable grounds that a child is being abused to report that person to a police officer or a child protection officer. Furthermore, the bill will criminalize parents or guardians who enable the commission of an offense by a child or fails to take reasonable steps to ensure that the child does not commit an offense. The abused children will be removed to a place of custody or detention in the best interest of that child. It is highlighted that institutions that receive children must accommodate them in a family-type environment. A new clause has been incorporated that empowers probation officers to obtain birth certificates for children without parental care. Then we'll move on to the update on the preparations for the 2022 Zimbabwe National Population Census. Cabinet received an update on the preparations for the 2022 Zimbabwe National Population Census from the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Professor Mutuli Ncube. The 2022 Population and Housing Census enumeration is scheduled for 21 to 30 April 2022. The nation is informed that the preparations for the 2022 Population and Housing Census are being coordinated by the National Census Committee, which will be assisted by the Provincial and District Census Committees. The Provincial and District Census Committees will be constituted by 30 September 2021. Cabinet adopted the 2022 Population and Housing Census timelines, which are disaggregated into pre-enumeration, enumeration, and post-enumeration phases. The pre-enumeration, which started on 21 November 2019, will run until 17 April 2022, and has two major activities, namely the census field mapping exercise, which is to be completed by 21 January 2022, and the pilot census to be completed by 27th November 2021. Then the enumeration phase is scheduled for 21 to 30 April 2022. Then the post-enumeration will be completed by 31st August 2022, and the activities during this phase include the following. 1. Publication of the preliminary census results by 1 August 2022. Then 2. Data analysis, processing and dissemination, post-enumeration survey. Then 3. Evaluation of the census in terms of content and coverage areas. And 4. Recovery of census equipment and materials. Government wishes to inform the nation that 60% of the country has been mapped and the COVID-19 outbreak is militating against progress. The Bulawayo Metropolitan Province was completed, as well as 20 districts across the country's provinces. The completed districts are as follows. Bulawayo, that's in Bulawayo Metropolitan Province. Also Rusape in Manicaland Province. Musarabani, Rushinga, Burwi, Eben and Bindura Eben in Mashonaland Central Province. Marondera Rural in Mashonaland East Province. Gwanda Eben, Plumtree and Baitbridge Eben in Matabeleland South Province. Victoria Falls in Matabeleland North Province. Redcliffe, Rishawane Eben, Gokwe Eben and Shurugu Eben in Midlands Province. Then Masvingo Eben and Chiredzi Eben in Masvingo Province. Here in Harare, Chitungwiza, Epworth, Harare Rural in Harare Metropolitan Province. These have been completed. So this is where we are with this census. I thank you for listening.